Hello friends! All people are different, but we truly believe that there are many more good people than bad people out there. One cat often sat by the door of a deli. His color and age were completely indeterminable. He wasn't old yet, but life had done quite a number on him. Of his 2 eyes, there was only one left. The other was injured in a fight and was taken out completely. Even the eyelid had shut, as if the eye was never even there. Instead of a bushy tail, there was a short, stumpy one, less than half of its original length. The cat didn't like remembering how he'd lost his tail. Every day, he took his place by the door and waited in silence. His size was impressive due to his fluffy coat. It was a deli, and everything there was delicious. Pastries, the salads, and even the soups. There were always plenty of customers, and sometimes they would trip over the cat on their way out, and he would get kicked. But he never snapped back at them and just moved aside, and then went back to his spot later, as someone would surely give him a hot dog or a slice of pizza. People were all different. A lonely elderly man liked to frequent the place. His wife had died a long time ago, and his children had their own lives and paid him rare visits. He was rather comfortable on his own and didn't feel lonely. Though he didn't like to cook, he liked to eat well. He'd buy his food at the store and then spend long evenings eating and watching TV. The pace of life is rather measured when you're retired. The man's name was Bartosz. But one day, Bartosz's calm life was disrupted. A mouse had moved in. The old man couldn't recall the last time he encountered creatures so cunning, cheeky, and most importantly, clever. Mice had found their way into the house before, but a regular mousetrap did its job perfectly, and within a day or two, everything was sorted. But this time, the mischievous mouse made lots of noise and rustled inside the cupboards, went around the mousetraps, and wouldn't get fooled by the free cheese. As soon as the old man sat down in his recliner to watch TV, it would start acting up. And even the noise from the TV couldn't block out the rustling. The old man liked to keep everything in perfect order, so he was incredibly irritated by the mere thought of the mouse's presence. He even started thinking about getting a cat. But the man genuinely didn't understand how he could bring a dirty, flea-ridden cat into the house. He didn't treat cats badly, but he didn't particularly like them either. But the last straw was when the mouse came into the room and stood right in front of him. It made him feel like he was mocking him. And so, the man conjured up a plan. He would bring in the mangy cat that lived by the deli. It would be a contract of sorts. The cat would stay in a warm home, eat the mouse, and then be returned to the streets. The elderly man headed out to the deli. The cat was nowhere to be found. So the man bought salad, meat pastries, and then saw the cat by the entrance. Not knowing how to pick up animals properly, Bartosz picked up the cat by the scruff of his neck and carried him back with his arms stretched out. The animal acted strangely. The cat didn't resist and just hung there like a rag, giving in to his fate. On the way, the man tried to explain to the cat what his job was: to catch the pesky mouse, eat it if he wanted to, and then be set free again. Piece of cake. Once home, the one-eyed cat looked a little confused and surprised. He looked around and looked at the old man, puzzled with his only eye. Bartosz logically assumed that the animal would need to settle down a bit, to work on his tactics of catching the mouse. The mouse kept quiet and didn't make an appearance. The man relaxed and sat down in his recliner. The one-eyed cat curled up in a ball and fell asleep on the kitchen floor. But a couple hours later, he came up to the recliner and let out a quiet meow. As soon as the old man got up, the cat went to the front door, and the man understood that he wanted to be let out. The cat's behavior showed that he had lived with a human in the past. His new owner opened the door, and the cat went out and returned a couple of minutes later. Bartosz let the fluffy guy in, mumbling that he'll get used to living the good life, which didn't fit into the old man's plan as he had no intention of keeping the one-eyed cat. He, once again, let the cat know in a commanding tone that he is to carry out his responsibilities in the house, which is to catch the mouse. The mouse smelled the cat and hid. It only made its presence known late in the evening by making the rustling sound, but the one-eyed cat didn't react in any way. This behavior made his new owner angry. He picked up the cat and carried him to the kitchen, placed him by the cupboard, and ordered him to catch the mouse. That night, the mouse didn't get caught, but you couldn't hear it either. Mouse business aside, the man understood that the cat needed to be fed, so he shared some of his meat pastry. The cat approached his food with dignity, didn't jump on it, and ate slowly, as if savoring the food. The cat has now lived in the house for 4 days, and the mouse was still making itself at home under the sink and in the trash can. Bartosz began thinking that perhaps the cat deliberately wasn't working on catching the mouse, as he understood that as soon as he fulfilled his part of the contract, he would be back on the streets immediately. The cat had a good life in the house. It was warm, and he was fed well. When the one-eyed guy first saw the fish that was offered to him, he froze, then looked up at the old man, and only then started eating. Then, after his meal, he did something unbelievable. He walked up to the old man and started rubbing his head against his hands, then his legs, and purred quietly. Bartosz felt something warm and pleasant, but snapped out of it quickly and moved the cat aside. There was no room for mushy signs of affection. Gratitude is good and all, but it wouldn't hurt to catch some mice either. The man was already kicking himself for demonstrating weakness. He hadn't planned on having the animal live in his house for this long. One night, the one-eyed cat finally found the blasted rodent. Bartosz woke up in the middle of the night from a racket and noise coming from the kitchen. In the morning, the old man took the cat back to its place by the deli. He was feeling pretty bad, but blamed it on the change in weather. The cat didn't show any resistance this time either, as it wasn't the first time that the cat was betrayed by humans. He'd been treated a lot worse. With his tail between his legs, the one-eyed hunter went back to his place by the deli. The old man thought for a second he saw something that looked like a tear glitter in the corner of the cat's only eye, but he brushed off the thought and quickly moved away. That evening, the old man kept listening carefully, but there was no sound of the mouse, and there was no one at the door. The man looked out a couple of times. The cat could have remembered his way to the house and come back, but he didn't. That night, Bartosz didn't sleep well. It was below freezing. The wind howled and it snowed non-stop. The man kept thinking about the cat, where he could be now, one-eyed and proud, whether he had somewhere to hide. The man was angry at himself. He was an old idiot who betrayed an animal that trusted him. He never even petted him once. The man understood that the only reason he didn't do it was because he was afraid that if he allowed himself to show weakness, then he wouldn't have it in him to throw the cat back out onto the streets. His sleep medication wasn't working, and the old man was at the store long before it opened, but the cat was nowhere to be found. First, the cashiers and the cooks came in, then the first customers, but the one-eyed cat still wasn't there. Bartosz was really worried about the cat and whether it survived the freezing cold night. The old man carried a bag which smelled of pastries and fresh fish that was inside. The cat only appeared a few hours later. He walked slowly down the trodden snow and froze once he saw the old man. Of course, he recognized him, but he didn't run towards him. He just walked past the man towards his place by the door, as if to say, "Don't worry. Everything is as it was. You're home, and I'm here." Bartosz couldn't take it anymore. He would have never allowed himself something like this before, but now he was surprised to realize that he didn't care about what people thought of him. The proud man got on his knees in front of the mangy one-eyed cat. The man stretched out his hand and stroked the animal, who flattened his ears and froze. The old man told him that sleeping in a recliner was much more comfortable than on the snow. He then apologized and gave his word that he would never kick him out again. The cat rubbed himself against the man's hands. The cat forgave the man. The man took the cat home, holding him close. This story was shared on the internet by the man's son. He was happy that his father wasn't lonely anymore. And that's all for today, friends. Let us know if you liked today's video in the comments below. Hit the like button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.